Digital Juice's animated backgrounds and graphic elements can help you make great-looking graphics, but good video starts long before you sit down to edit. It begins in the camera with good lighting and strong shot composition. In this episode, we'll take a look through the lens to help you compose yourself so you can frame up fantastic shots. These days, a lot of people that make their living making videos started off working with computers, not cameras. Most shooters today are self-taught, and they lack a basic knowledge of the fundamentals of shot composition. If you're one of the many that's been shooting by instinct, stick around. I've got 5 tips for shot composition to help you shoot like a pro. So what are we waiting for? Let's take 5. Tip number 1, use the rule of thirds. A simple understanding of the rule of thirds will set you up for success. The rule of thirds is a simple concept that every shooter should understand. Here's how it works. Imagine a tic-tac-toe grid laid over your viewfinder with its lines falling across the top third, lower third, and the left and right vertical thirds. The rule says that objects in the frame should fall along these lines and at their intersections. When you shoot a landscape, don't position the horizon across the middle of the screen. The shot will look better if you position it along one of the horizontal thirds at the top or the bottom of the frame. Why? I don't really know. Maybe it's because this rule's been used by artists, photographers, and filmmakers forever. Whatever the reason, it just works. You'll find that shots composed according to the rule of thirds just look better. The rule of thirds works especially well for framing the people that you shoot. In fact, we're using it right now. When you frame up a person, position his eyes on the top third line. If you drop the eyes to the center of the screen, as some people do, it looks like the subject is falling out the bottom of the frame. This composition is kind of like putting your subject in the sights of a rifle. While most viewers can't tell you why, they will notice that the shot just doesn't look right. The first secret is to keep the subject's eyes on the top third line. Now with the eyes on the top third, you'll find that your subject is framed comfortably. Start paying attention to the shots you see on TV, and you'll notice that the rule of third is being used all the time by the pros that make television. It's a fundamental rule of composition. In addition to positioning your subject's eyes on the top third, frame them slightly to one side so that they sit on one of the vertical thirds, and you'll have a sweet shot that's easy on the eye. By the way, placing the eyes on the top third works well whether you're shooting wide, medium, or close-ups. In most cases, it automatically takes care of headroom, with 2 exceptions: extreme wide shots and extreme close-ups. When shooting an extreme wide shot, like showing your subject in an establishing shot, you want to compose the whole scene, not just the subject. For shooting close-ups, there's another tip. Tip number 2, don't chop the chin. When shooting extreme close-ups, it's a sin to cut the chin. Headroom is the distance between the top of your subject's head and the top of the frame. Leave too much headroom and it can feel like your subject is falling out the bottom of the shot. Allow too little and the scene can feel cramped, like your subject's head is bumping against the border. In most cases, placing the eyes on the top third line will take care of headroom for you automatically. But when you're shooting close-ups, you need to be mindful of the chin sin. When you come in close, it's okay to chop the top, allowing the forehead to fall out the top of the frame, but it's not okay to cut off the chin. Tilt down enough so your subject's jaw stays in the shot as he or she jabbers. Once again, watch what you see on TV and copy from the best. You'll notice that the networks often take a little off the top, but they'll never crop in on the chin. Tip number 3, compose the nose. With the eyes and chin covered, it's time to take a peek at the beak. Nose room, or look room, refers to the space between your subject's schnoz and the side of the screen. If your subject is looking at the lens, nose room isn't an issue. But when you're shooting interviews or dramatic scenes with the subject looking to the side, nose room is a key consideration. Not sure how to position a profile? The nose knows. When your subject is facing sideways, you need to allow, appropriately enough, some breathing room in the direction that the nose is pointed. Again, let's refer back to the rule of thirds. The vertical third lines are a good guide to compose for the nose. With the subject centered in the screen, the composition seems cramped. I mean, you get what looks like the shot of an ear. That's no good. But with the subject aligned along the vertical third line, facing the open area in the frame, the nose has the space it needs. You'll find that the viewer's eye is naturally drawn to the empty area in the shot. So, if you're composing a conversation, for example, you need to frame your subjects on opposite sides of the screen facing different directions. When you cut the clips together with the proper nose room, the subjects appear to be face to face. But frame improperly with their noses on the wrong side of the shot, and they seem to be back to back. To compose conversations that cut together well, you need to think about the snout. Tip number 4, lead them on. Lead room sets the rule of thirds in motion. A close cousin of nose room is lead room. When you're shooting a moving subject, you need to allow ample area ahead of your ambling actor. As you pan with the subject, try to keep him on the trailing third line. This gives the person room to move in the direction that he or she is headed. Allowing the subject to bump against the frame is awkward. Leaving space in front of the face gives the shot a much more natural feel. When you're shooting a line of moving subjects like a horse race or a string of stock cars, you need to keep the front runner close to the leading edge of the shot. It's okay to let someone in the back of the pack fall out of the frame, but you can't let the leader bob in and out of the shot. The faster the subject moves, the better the shooter you need to be to lead them along. Practice with slower subjects to get a good feel for framing moving shots. It's also important to adjust the drags in your tripod so you can make smooth moves. Tip number 5, beware of bad backgrounds. It's not enough to just look at your subject. You need to compose the full frame. Even shots that are composed correctly can look odd if background objects are positioned poorly. Look for poles or plants that appear to protrude out of your subject's skull, and watch out for wires that appear to run in one ear and out the other. Simply moving the camera slightly to one side or the other, or raising or lowering it on the tripod can prevent the problem. The key is to catch it before you hit record. The best shooters scrutinize every shot they shoot before they roll tape, and you should too. Take your time when you set up your shots and reposition however you need to avoid bad backgrounds. There you go, 5 tips for superior shot composition. Number 1, use the rule of thirds. Number 2, don't chop the chin. Number 3, compose the nose. Number 4, lead them on. And number 5, beware of bad backgrounds. There are some things that you just can't fix in post, and poor shot composition is at the top of the list. Start applying these 5 tips to the shots you shoot, and you'll see a big improvement in the overall quality of your footage. By the way, if tips like this are review for you, hang with me. In future episodes, I'll share more advanced shooting tips for things like lens compression, creative composition, and shooting to edit. For now, focus on your framing and play by the rules. We'll be back to break the rules in another episode.